How do? What the fudge? What the fudge, as it says in the title. Beautiful up here. Hope you all as well as can be. So let's talk about banter. We had a governor at Strangeways. Strangeways was a prison where I worked. We had a governor. He was a Cockney from down south. Londoner. Yeah, bit of a merchant banker. I'll let you work that one out yourself. Merchant banker, rhyming slang. However, he had a thing about banter. Yeah, gossip. Gossiping. Says it causes trouble. Didn't like the word banter, didn't like banter. I knew where they were coming from. Didn't particularly like him, but I knew where they were coming from. So, about 12 months ago, I read prison officers were going to have banter training or training. Thought no more about it. Boom! Pops up on my timeline. So those that are new to the channel, I'm an ex-prison officer. Used to work at Strangeways, HMP Manchester. It will always be known as Strangeways. Infamous. One of the most infamous prison. Was it the toughest prison? The hardest prison? Everybody who works in a prison likes to think their prison is the toughest or the hardest. You know, world's toughest prisons. UK's toughest prisons. This prison's tough, that prison's tough. There's tough people and tough regimes. But the job's hard, whatever prison you work in. So I'm on K-Wing. That is just a residential unit, holds 200 people, 200 prisoners. Not ex-cons, not cons, we can't say that. Later in the vlog. So there were 3 landings. I worked on the 2s, literally. That's the first floor. There is a landing underneath, that's the 1s. Don't want to make it overcomplicated. So there's 2s, 3s, 4s. Prisoners live on the 2s, live on the 3s, live on the 4s. There's a guy on the 3s landing having a brew. Lent on the railings. I knew this lad. Dynamic security, not mentioned that for a long time. Some of you don't know what that is. That's staff-prisoner relationships, yeah. After you've been in the job a while, they get to know your prisoners. Might be a restraint. You're in a restraint someone. Pretty much everyone I've ever been in a restraint with, if I didn't know them, I knew them after. You're right, boss. Sorry about the other day. And the like. Prisoners apologise. Even tough prisoners apologise. You know, if they've been out of order or they've been wrong, credit where credit's due. So he's having a brew, and there's a lad on the 3s, he's a young lad. Stick with me, there is a point to this story. Heading towards him at pace, steaming. I knew what was going to happen. Starts making my way up the stairs to the 3s landing. So the young lad, tall he was, big lad, 6'4", 6'5", gets in front of said experienced con, or at the side of him, get behind your fucking door. Yeah, get behind your fucking door. I knew why they were telling that. He was having a brew. We used to have rules on K-Wing. They had them throughout the jail. They were not adhered to. You've got to understand, K-Wing was a remand wing. The prisoners were out all day. 6 staff managing 200 prisoners. You need rules. You know, showers. You had to get dressed in the showers. Not in the shower, under the shower. Come on, we're not that mad. No walking about, you know, with flip-flops on the landing, towels round you. That sort of thing. No eating on the landings or drinking brews on the landings. Most people knew the rules. This lad was just chatting to someone, oblivious that it was breaking a rule. Not serious. You know me, just have a look. Smithy, all right? Yeah. Just behind your door, like, all right, Mr. S. That's how it is. I knew him. This lad, get behind your fucking door. So let me tell you about this lad. He's about 50. Weren't in any particular crime family, not in any particular gang, well known. One of them, oh, you definitely won't want to fight. If it had been a restraint, if it had kicked off because of how he was spoke to, he'd have taken all the staff that we got and some more. However, a lot of these people come into jail and they're nothing but respectful. Yeah? Gentlemanly, I would say. Paul Doyle, if you see this, coming for you soon for a brew. Gentlemanly. Yeah? And they treat the female staff, the lasses, with respect. And something else we quite often don't give people credit for, they can sort problems out. You know, 3 or 4 brothers on the wing. Some people from the area they don't like. Looks like getting it on. One of these old heads has a word, calms it down. You know, you could go up to him. Now then, have a word, mate. You know. And they do that. So he's not a bad lad. Definitely, quite definitely won't want to fight him. So I gets there. So he's looking at this lad, and this lad's now, he's ignored him. They can't ignore him, she was talking to him like shit. I can't second. That's the whole point in this vlog. Oh, I can! I'm not a prison officer anymore. It's ridiculous. He's ignoring him, so he's talking to him. So I walked up. It's not called Smithy, but I'm going to use Smithy. Smithy, just give us a minute. So he stepped back off the landing with his brew. Behind his door. Yeah? Can I have a word a minute? Young lad. Young lad, he's on one. Adrenaline's kicked in, legs are shaking. Goes to lock this lad's door. So what are you doing? I'm locking him behind his door. What for? Ignoring me. Can I have a word a minute in office? Yeah? Gets him in office. Explains to him. Yeah? Firstly, there is a way to talk to people. Anybody. You know, kids, prisoners, people in old people's home. Talk to people in a proper manner, treat people with respect, and you will get that back. As I'm explaining it to it, my mate on the twos, Nobby Nobbler, that's the lad I work with, that's not his real name, comes in, says to me, what do you intervene for? I says, what do you mean? He says he needs a lesson, this lad. This is the young lad that's like 6'5". I says, lesson? He'd have knocked him straight through bloody... Anyway, you get the point. You know, talk to people, speak to people. You talk to people in the wrong way and you can have something kicking off. You know, it's going to go. So, prison officers are getting banter training. Yeah? The fact they're using the words made me laugh. Not to use the word ex-con or con. It's offensive. Prisoners get offended. We had this last year. Robert Buckland, then head of the prison service. We quite often refer to a wing in a prison as a residential unit. People were suggesting we called prisoners residents. No, I didn't agree with that. They're prisoners. You know, you have residents in an old people home. They are in prison for a reason. If they're on remand, I understand they've not been charged of an offence. But you get my point. Then it goes on about language. Yeah? And you're going to have teams of people, can't remember what they're called, inclusion teams, diversity teams, something along them lines. You know where I'm coming from. I'm going to show you the scenery where I'll talk on. Stephen, walk this way. Yeah, he's oblivious, him. Beautiful. They're going to have teams walking around to make sure prison officers don't slip up and use words that offend people, that offend prisoners. Yeah? It also talks about not talking about religion. No shit. We all know that. Not talking about race. Yeah? Not talking about weight. You know, taking the piss out of someone because of the weight. Not talking about gender. Sexual orientation. It's common sense, this. If you're having to sit people down and give them training on this, what you're actually giving them training on, but it won't be done in the proper manner, yeah, is interpersonal skills. I have said many times, give me some small dude, lad or lass, who's got great interpersonal skills, or a towering giant monster, you know, with the big guns and that, any day. Being able to talk to people is a thing. The reason, possibly, that prisoners are complaining about how they're being talked to is there's no experience. You've got a lot of young staff. I've already told the young staff when I were on K-Wing, were kept on a tight rein. The number of times they nearly kicked it off. Yeah? And they'd lose it in incidents. I understand that. You know, learning to control adrenaline in a restraint is a thing. Red mist, operational stress. You know, you'd have to take them out of it. They'd be there like at a point of breaking someone's arm. Not intentionally, just lost it. Angry. Adrenaline's kicked in. Yeah, experience teaches you that. I've been in plenty of restraints. Take that lad off. Get him out of here. Do this, do that. Yeah, you guide them, you mentor them. There isn't on that, there's no experience. And right now, in the prison service, when we are at a time, Yeah? When people are leaving in droves, they can't get staff, they can't retain staff, we're having banter training. I tell you what people would appreciate more. The staff would appreciate support from management, and I know from people that message me there's very little of that. There's still some good managers in there, I know one or two, but they're not getting no support, or they don't feel they're getting support. Yeah? They'd like more staff, enough to do the job. They'd like to retain staff and keep staff and everything that goes with it, better terms and conditions, obviously. Prisoners, they'd like a regime. We used to have a regime. You know, if you were a sentenced prisoner in Strangeways, you might go to work, you might exercise in the day, you'd be out on the evenings. There's no evenings now, they're not out after tea, yeah? You'd be out all weekend. It's called a regime, yeah? And guess what? When they're on a regime, you get to know them. You know the faces, you know who they are, they know you, they see how you operate. Dynamic security. That's what the prison service needs again. It needs a stable workforce, it needs enough staff to do the job, and it needs people with common sense and good communication skills. You can't sit someone down and give them training. It's common sense you don't take piss out of people. Stephen! Parting shot as always. And just let me tell you, it also mentions in the article not taking the piss out of someone because of their football team, because they might be hurt. Come on, get a grip, will you? Yeah? Thanks to everyone who supported the channel, everyone who supports me on Patreon, everyone who's bought me a brew, the continued positive comments. You know, I've not been in the best place. Got knocked backwards this weekend. One lad who I thought I knew very well reached out. I haven't been able to get hold of him again. Tried to take his own life, didn't tell anyone, didn't want to be here. Under 40, young male. Yeah, upset. I'm up here now looking at this and it's a million miles away. And another very good friend passed. Nothing's guaranteed in this life. Thanks to guests, past, present and future. Thanks for coming. I'll see thee.